Hello, everybody. This is Nerva Altino of the Altino Brothers. Thank you so very much for joining us. We are going to start a web series to basically give you some tips on how we go about training our choir. As many of you may know, we are currently preparing for our Carnegie Hall debut this coming October 4th. And we were asking that you would join us on a week-to-week basis where we will give you some tips on how we prepare our choir and as well as ourselves. In addition to preparing the choir, both Robinson and I, we practice a whole lot, as you could imagine, not only for Carnegie Hall, but it has become a lifestyle. You know, music is what we do full-time, and it requires a lot of commitment from both of us. So for today's lesson, I'm just going to basically show you how we go about preparing our choir during rehearsals. We go through a series of exercises and we go into the repertoire in detail. That way, that's what creates an effective performance. It goes beyond just singing notes and so forth. If that was the case, if that was not the case, we'd all sound like our congregations. So there has to be a distinct difference between a choir and the congregation. Both has its own beauty. However, the choir being up front has to have a higher standard of singing. So I'm just going to help you, give you some tips on how we go about doing that. So let us begin, okay? So we go through, whenever we begin a rehearsal, we always start with vocal exercises, all right? Well, being Christians, we go through a routine. We come together, we pray, and so forth. And then we always begin rehearsal with warm-ups. That is very important. I wouldn't advise anyone to start a rehearsal and start singing repertoire without having warmed up first. So, to give you some tips on warming up, I would have at least 3 to 4 different warm-up exercises. I'm going to show you what I specifically use, but you could create your own warm-up exercises. It will do the job just as well. Now, I usually have my choir sing one-note repetitions on vowels, but on ma, me, mi, mo, mu. Okay, so I usually start this exercise on C. Okay, let's see right here on the piano. So I have them sing, actually, me, mi, ma, mo, mu, not ma, me, mi, mo, mu. That is just as fine. I do me, mi, ma, mo, mu. So we have me, mi, ma, mo, mu. Me, mi, ma, mo, mu. Me. So it's important to have your choir members sing those notes and sustain the note. Carry it all the way through until right before you change the key. Don't have them breathe within the same key that you're playing. Okay? I'll demonstrate that again. Me, mi, ma, mo, mu. Me, mi, ma, mo, mu. Me. Notice the change? They breathe right before the change of a new key. You could take this up to as high as G or A flat, okay? So another exercise I have them do goes something like this. This is for E-O, 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 E. This is an exercise I learned from my choir professor when I was in college at Lincoln Union College. So it's something that I think is very helpful to preparing the voices to sing the repertoire. And I take this all the way up, okay, until the first sopranos reach G, okay? But G, all right? Not the G above middle C, but the one an octave above that, all right? So that would be the peak for sopranos. But it goes. E-O, E-O, E-O. I just harmonize playing accompaniment, but it's really, you don't have to do that. Okay, you could play single notes. And another exercise we use to warm them up is arpeggios. That, okay, I think this is very helpful to for the voices. It helps them in terms of pitch accuracy, okay, as well as range. Now, I usually start this on A, below middle C. So we have, it's ya, ha, ha, ho, 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 ho. It's almost like you're laughing. But again, never breathe within the exercise itself until you're changing key. So I start on A, below middle C. Ya, ha, ha, ho, 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 ho. Well, I say A below middle C. That applies to the soprano and alto voices. But the bass and tenors will be at the A, an octave below that. Okay? So, ya, ha, ha, ho, 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 ho. Ya, ha, ha, ho, 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 ho. So sometimes with the human voice, changing keys and half steps is not always accurate when you listen to their pitch. So this helps train them to do that. So, oh, 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 oh. Okay? So they breathe after the change this time, after the key change. Ya, ha, ha, ho, 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 ho. 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 And I take this all the way up to A. All right? So I do it. It's usually going in half steps up to the octave above. But by the time we get to, let's say, once we reach F, I have the basses and altos pull out and allow the tenors and sopranos to continue. All right? So another aspect of vocal exercises you could use, I use this to train choirs, you know, if they have lesser talent, and sometimes you'll find people who have a hard time harmonizing. All right? So I'll start with basic harmonies. You could create whatever wording you choose. I like to do it on God is so good. All right? So I have the basses start on C, C below middle C. And I have the tenors sing at G below middle C, and altos at middle C, and then sopranos at E above middle C. So we do God is so good. And they breathe after the key change. So you go on in half step. So C, then D flat, D, E flat, and so forth and so on. Now, just to extend it for you a little bit. God is so good. God is so good. God is, so forth and so on. You could take this all the way up to G major. So once you've reached there, you could go back down, descending motion. So in G, God is so good. God is so good. Okay, so you take that back down to C, where you started. You could end it there.